Hi friends! I am doing something different this year because it's a new year. I got a new haircut. I just want to do something else. So on my blog I've been doing, oh wait a second. Hello, my name is Kristina Hultkrantz. I'm an illustrator and surface designer from Mariefred, Sweden. And I am going to talk to you about my favorite things of January. And I think I'm going to do this every month. Every month on my blog that nobody reads, I have been sharing my favorites for the past year. Kind of. But nobody reads them. I prefer video content. That video strangely takes me forever because the post, because I'm not a good writer. I can't put my thoughts into words. At least in a video format, I can like struggle through my words and you might find it entertaining. So that's what I'm gonna do and test out. And I hope you like it. I hope I like it. So yeah, it's January 2026. I have since the January 10th, that was my anniversary for moving to Sweden in 2008. And so I've been living here for 18 years, 18 wonderful years. I am so happy that I moved from America to Sweden. I am especially happy right now. America is a very strange place at the moment. I do feel confident that they're going to find their way. It's going to take a while. And I think maybe this was the wake-up call that many Americans needed to understand that their society was not working. And hopefully it can be built into something that I can be proud of again. Because right now I'm not proud of being an American citizen. I have to be honest and say that, and I think it's okay. But I am certain that with new leaders and all the resourceful people that I know exist in America, it's going to be turned into a beautiful place again that we want to visit and, you know. Anyways, Sweden, if I'm going to talk about that, yeah, 18 whole amazing years. I can't believe that I have now lived here the longest of any other place that I've lived as in my life. I grew up in Maine in America and I lived there for 17 years, so I just went over that. See, again with my words, I am dual language and I get stuck between English and Swedish all the time, but it's okay. I'll just keep going. Okay, so I lived there for 17 years. I then lived in Florida, where my family still lives, and I lived there for 6-7 years, and then now I've lived here for 18. So you can do math and understand that I'm 40 plus years old, which is just wild. But anyways, I adore Sweden for so many reasons. I just felt at home when I moved here. Both my parents are Swedish. I just felt like I understood the culture more. I enjoyed the history. When I moved to Stockholm, and just walking the old streets of Gamla Stan, the old town, I was just amazed with how much culture and history. I, of course, adore Swedish society, and it felt like more cozy. People are more interested in living life rather than working 9 to 5 and making as much money as possible. Here, the fika culture, going to take a coffee with a friend, I thought people were more open. Maybe they are a little bit closed off to begin with, but when you actually get to know someone, they're a lot more open. And I've had really beautiful conversations with my Swedish friends in comparison to what I've had before, which was always felt like on the surface. But that's just my experience again. I just... Now that I'm an adult and I get sick, I'm so very grateful for the health system. Having kids, that was amazing in Sweden. Cost $20 roughly to have my daughter and about 40 for my son. It's just, this is how I want for everybody in the entire world. Again, we're getting really political, and that's something I think I'm not going to talk about all the time, but I think it's also important to show you where I'm standing with my views and if you want to align with me or not. All right, so let's get into stuff that's like not so deep and huge, and let's talk about knitting. So I learned again to knit last year, at the end of the last year, in like October. My mom taught me how to knit, like do knits and purls when I was younger, and I knitted like one scarf, and I thought that was fun, but it didn't, like, I didn't need knitting at the time. But now my daughter, she showed interest in knitting because her teacher talks a lot about knitting, and they learned how to like knit with their fingers, so like crochet, finger crochet at school. And she was interested in learning to knit. So I was like, oh, okay, if you want to learn, I will teach you. I'll just like refresh my memory of how to do it. And I like whipped out some old knitting needles that I had. And it like opened up a whole new world of creativity for me. So now my daughter isn't like super interested in knitting, but she will. Like she's knitting a little, here I can show you. She's knitting a little shirt for one of her, what's it called, stuffed animals. So I helped her figure out how to make little yarn over hole. So it's like, it's a hole, but it's supposed to be on purpose for one of the hands, arms, and then the hole for the tail. So super cute. And I just fell in head over heels in love with knitting, and I think anybody who is a knitter, I think they have had the same moment. It's like this like revolutionary idea that I can have complete control over my wardrobe from now on, and I can also at the same time do something creative that isn't my job, because my job is creative, and whenever I paint or draw, it always, even if it's for me in my sketchbook, it always feels like it's work or is working towards something that I potentially will sell. Knitting has just become my thing. And all right, so I want to show you a couple of things that I've finished this month and last month. So last month I finished this. This was my first like proper knitting project again. And this is the Stay Toasty scarf by Kutovakika. And it's inspired by like the Sophie scarf craze. And I just adore this thing. I think they're so elegant. And this is, to me, a good indoor scarf. That might not make sense to you if you don't live in a cold country. But it's so nice to have something that's not super bulky and that I can wear indoors as well. Like going to a cafe or even in my own home when sometimes the heating isn't as good as it should be sometimes. So I love these. They feel so stylish. I want to do like one in every single color. But I'm like trying to stop myself from going like knitting crazy, even though it's inevitable. But I love this. I was in Stockholm, so I bought for funsies the wool from Søstrene Grene. It's a Danish brand, so I have no idea how the Danes say that, but that company. So I tried theirs. It's a wool and bamboo mix, so it's quite soft, but it's not super soft, but I don't mind. I don't seem to be very sensitive towards, there is some pricklage, but I just really like the navy color, that it was kind of, it's not too dark, like my shirt's super dark, but this is still like, it's kind of, is that in Swedish is melierat. I forget what that's called in English. I forget. Anyway, so I made that, and then I wanted to have a matching hat. So I created, but this time I held the same yarn, but with the Søstrene Grene Mohair in navy, so I could get that nice fuzz. So I made the Petite knit Terrazzo hat. I love this too. I feel so elegant. It's a little bit more grown up than the traditional beanie with, like, you know, sticking up. I love this hat so much. I think it's lovely. I made the kid size because I have a pea head. I just made sure to make the top of the hat longer, but the brim is the junior kid size. And again, mohair, supposedly very itchy. All my knowledge from the 3 months of knitting that I've done is coming from YouTube. I've been watching an obscene amount of videos about knitting. I am completely immersed into all the knitting podcasts. That's why I'm like starting a knitting podcast also. It's so much fun. So and this is my first petite knit design that I have knitted. So of course I feel like I'm in the group now. I have to adjust my hair. It's really wonderfully warm, this, but it doesn't go down over the ear, so if it is like one of those horrifically windy, nasty days in Sweden, then that doesn't really help. But then I have like the hood from my jacket, and I have a huge scarf too, so anyways. So now after I am a navy blue lover. I'm not one of those people who likes the stylish black. I don't think it looks good on me, but stylish navy blue, excellent. But then it became a little bit too much with all the navy blue because my coat is also navy blue, so I became like this monotone navy blue person. So I have these beautiful brown gloves, so I went to my local yarn shop and I bought a yarn that matched those brown gloves. And now I'm like a rusty brown person. I made this shawl, which was a free pattern by Indiblomst, which is a Norwegian designer, and she had 2 designs available on her as free download for this little like triangle shawl, and I kind of mixed them together. I did the eyelet pattern, but then I also did the rib pattern instead of having all garter stitch in the whole thing. I thought it became more interesting. So I really like this one, and I used a Plassard wool yarn. Again, my languages. In Swedish, yarn is gone. That's so difficult to like. Anyways, so I really like that. I think this rusty brown color looks amazing with the navy blue and my skin tone. So again, I just so excited about my new hobby, and this one knitted up so fast. I used exactly 2 balls, and I just kept knitting until there was none left. I kept using my scale to see like how much a row weighed, so I knew how far I could go. But it was perfect size. I love this. It's so lovely. Okay, what else I can show you one of my whips, because that's important in a podcast, one of these knitting podcasts, which is also going to be like a mix of different things. So this is the cardi that I've been working on since December, and this is the Shine cardigan by November Knits. She's also a Norwegian designer, and it is so beautiful. I'll just put it on half. And it's gonna have the ribbed button band later, and the stockinette on the front and the back, and then the sleeves are in these balloon sleeves that are in seed stitch, and it's so stunning. And the pattern calls for holding 2 strands of mohair, but since I hear the entire internet complaining about how itchy mohair is, I didn't want to do that. Also, because this is my first cardigan, I decided to use drops, and I decided to go for Melody, which I hit gauge with because it's a thicker, it's like using 2 strands of mohair, but this is an alpaca and it's really soft and it's really beautiful, and this is the color Marsipan. Ooh. Here's the ball. So it's a nice thick, and it's so nice to just use 1 strand of a yarn instead of 2. I did actually create my first sweater, and I held a single strand of wool and a alpaca, the drops, brushed alpaca that's thinner. And I mean, I like that too. With the 2, you get that more luxurious feel and that more interesting look when it's kind of, again, whatever that word is, meliarat, when it's kind of like marbled. So yeah, even just putting it on like half my body, it's so warm and fluffy, and I don't have anything elegant like this in my closet. When I buy sweaters, like the majority of my sweaters are all like half acrylic mixes, and they pill so much and they're all ugly. And now, since 2020, I only buy my clothes secondhand. I don't buy anything except for like underpants and socks new, but all of my clothes are secondhand, so that feels really good. But then moving into slow fashion with knitting and picking out yarns, like now this, I did start with drops, but I wanted to, like, have to start somewhere. But now I've been going to my local yarn shop, and she's really good about picking out yarns that are sustainable and they have good what's it called, with animals, good, no animal cruelty, those brands. So I just really like that. And I think that's something I want to really pay attention to. I haven't, because I am a beginner, I haven't paid attention to it so much. I did buy also secondhand some yarn, and I found this little ball of Angora from Mondial that is incredibly soft, and it's beautiful, like gray purple color, that I'm going to make a little mini scarf, because again, how lovely would that be? It looked lovely with this fluffy scarf. And I also got some sandness garn line that I want to do because I'm so ambitious. But in a couple months, I'm gonna do for my summer project the Kutovakika's love letter top, because now that I did some eyelets, I feel like I can master lace. I am slightly overconfident, but I also like, if you take the time and you spend, if you're not rushed, I feel like you can do it. If you, like, I have a lot of time after school with my kids are a little bit older, and all they want to do is like watch TV or like play by themselves, so I don't have to like not pay attention to them as much. It sounds horrible, but like I can sit on the sofa and watch TV with them and knit at the same time. It's really lovely. Another random thing that I want to share before I stop talking about knitting is me and my kids. Again, we created the little stitch markers together, and we used shrink plastic. And I mean, again, like plastic, it's not my favorite material, but you use so little to create these, and they're really fun, and it was a really fun activity. So we've created, here, I have to show you some. Can you see this? I have to be like that, you know, like the beauty bloggers people with your hands. Can you see that? It's a little mushroom and a little hedgehog. And you make these little shrink plastic. Have you heard of that? If you grew up in the 90s in America, you know about Shrinky Dinks. So it's this called, I got this one, it's called Shrink Me, and these are A4 pieces of plastic, and this one I bought the matte kind, so it's matte on one side and shiny on the other. It just looks like this, and then you draw on it, and I draw with regular colored pencils. You can use markers or paint pens or something. I have this beautiful set from Caran, and you just, yeah, I'll show you them because art supplies. Got the whole rainbow. So just regular colored pencils, nothing fancy with that. And you draw on your piece of shrink plastic, and you have to think about this going to shrink at about 40% of its size to 40% of its size, so it shrinks down a huge amount. But you can, I mean, use math to calculate that. But to create this tiny little thing, I drew it like this big, and then it shrinks. And then to make the hole, I use a regular hole puncher, you know, the kind that you use for your binder. That size, whatever size that is. I have no idea, like 1/2 inch, like 5 centimeters, millimeters? I don't know. Can I show you my hole punch? Do you care? This size, that size hole, because it shrinks down to 40% of the size. It becomes like the perfect hole size to thread through these standard like metal stitch markers. So that is such an incredible project if you have kids. So my kids have like drawn me these incredible characters. Like here's a little, here look, a little squirrel, or a little bunny rabbit. Or my son did this beautiful tree. Or previously I've done banana. And I have other fruits, like I have a lemon and a strawberry. So it's just fun to create something a little bit personalized. And then you just put them in the oven at 170 Celsius or whatever your package says. And then you watch them, like they like kind of like mold and shape, and then they shrink down. They become really thick and really hard, and fun project. So that's something, my little extra arty tip if you are a sewist and want to create something like that. So moving on. Oh, I also have a cherry. That one's really cute. Just a really fun project. Also, when you draw with colored pencils, you know, it looks a little scratchy, but when it shrinks down, they look perfect. It looks like you're like the best artist in the entire world because all the colors become deeper and richer. It looks really nice. All right, so that's like my knitting section. Moving on, I want to talk about my art because I am an artist. I'm a surface designer. I'm a teacher. I forget to mention all of these things because I assume you all know who I am, but every month, obviously, more people learn who I am and find my content. So I should reintroduce that. So this section maybe is a little bit self-promo-y, but I mean, I have to do that. So I'm a Skillshare teacher primarily, I'd say. No, I am a surface designer primarily, but I do a lot of teaching on Skillshare. That feels better. I'm represented by an agent called Pinklight Studio in America. So I create lots of collections for them, and my artwork gets sold and licensed to different products like puzzles. I just licensed a couple puzzles, which was really cool. So I do that. That's my day job. And then my second day job is Skillshare. And I have 40 or 41 classes on Skillshare, and I've had an obscene amount of students, like 48,000 students, and my classes have been watched for like 2 million minutes or something ridiculous like that. And I love teaching so much. I swear it makes me more of a creative person because it forces me to think about my process. It forces me to think of new things to teach that I enjoy, or like I have to like deep dive into something that I've been wanting to think about, and I deep dive into that for a few months and get obsessed with it, and then I like just reach into the depths of my brain to figure out how to share my process. I'm also kind of like a teacher like this, you know, so I do get comments sometimes that my classes aren't structured enough, but like just find somebody else my process is a little bit more like, this is what I do, this is how I think, this is how you could think, go roll with that. Not like step by step, this is how you draw a person. I don't want to teach you how to draw a person. I want you to teach yourself how to draw a person how you want to draw it. Get it? Anyways. this month, and also I run a Patreon, and I have 2 groups there, and they are also incredible. Like, my job is ridiculous. That's why I'm so excited. That's why I had to stand up today and film this, because I could not sit down. I had to just like show you all this stuff and like be mobile, so if I forgot to like pick something up off my floor, then I could do that, you know. And so my Patreon group is also like my little I guess my little baby. It's a toddler now. I've had it for 3 years. So there's so much incredible content there. So I have Collection Club, which is all about surface design, and every month we create a new collection together, and I guide you through the theme, and it's one of these like classic themes, or I try to like push it, and I tell you as much information as I can about creating collections for your portfolio for commercial industry like surface design or illustration. And I have incredible members there, and some of them have been there from the beginning, and to get to see their work develop and change and get better every single month, and just having that community also for myself. Again, I get this push to be a better illustrator. It's incredible. And then I have another creative outlet type of membership called Fun Friday. So every Friday I dedicate to painting or doing something creative. That's my day job. Sitting in front of my iPad drawing digital collections, I mean, like, that is fun, obviously, and it is creative, but it feels more of like a job. So drawing in my sketchbook, and I started this during the pandemic in 2020. It's when I pulled out all my art supplies again, and since then it's just like I've become so much more of a creative person. I feel more of like an artist again, not just this commercial sellout illustrator who just draws like Christmas designs. Nothing wrong with that, but I mean, you know, want like more outlets. And for right now, this practice is just for me. It's just in a sketchbook. I'll show you something real like soon, but it's just given me so much, and I love it. And before, when I started it, it felt like I was throwing away a work day to paint and draw. Like, that's not even my job. I don't get paid for that, but it has like paid off in other ways. I am more creative during the rest of the week. I get all my stuff done so that I can have this free day of play in my sketchbook. And then of course I've created this group. So anyways, this past month, we've done a lot of nocturnal scenes, and we've been painting winter. So I've done scenes like this. This is also, I did this for Emma Maliauka's Patreon, which is my favorite Patreon that I'm a member of, because she's an incredible teacher. She's self-taught. She's just, I can't think of anybody who has influenced my artwork in the most recent years than Emma has. So I highly suggest her Patreon. She has so many Zoom sessions where she brings you through lots of different processes. So she pushes me. So I, of course, need a teacher too. I love her. So here's my little snowy scene. I also did this snowy scene. It's a little empty, and that's something that I've been trying to work on, is I need to add more life to my scenes by either, like, I should have put the lights on in some of the windows, and like a bird somewhere, or some just like a couple figures walking here. Like, it takes so little to bring more life into the scene, but I get so focused on looking at a reference photo and I forget to add those special little details. That's something I'm working on, and that's something that I love about having a group like this, is that I'm so willing to share how I am developing my art and what I'm doing, and what you can do too. So here's some more scenes that I did for Emma Maliauka's sessions. Here is one I did for one of my sessions in my group. This is Mariefred, where I live in the middle of winter when it's super dark. As you can tell, there's not much light now, but we're making it work. This one I used quite a lot of pastel, that's why it's a little messy, but that is so much fun to use. And it's quite fun to create these kind of scenes. Little fish. Here's some hedgehog. I'm not so happy. He looks a little bit like possessed, but I mean, yeah. I've been loving doing these like zoomed into nature kind of things. I've been doing that for a few months. Since I haven't shared with you in forever, yeah, I want to like share some other stuff, like more thick paintings I've been enjoying doing. Oh, I love these ones with bananas. So I showed the whole process of painting this in my Fun Friday group. I can tempt you to go there. Here's also another little scene of my beautiful village where I call home in Mariefred. So sweet. So that's a look into my artwork and my playtime with that, and also like something that I do and that you could be a part of. And I guess that's all I had to share with you this month. I haven't read any books because I've been so obsessed with knitting and just like not in the mood. Like last year I read 50 books, and I read some incredible books, and we can talk about that another time, but I'll save that for another day. But I don't know, I get like kind of like go up and down with my obsessions. Like I can get completely obsessed with sketchbooking and just want to focus on that, and then reading becomes something that just like totally takes over my world for a while, and I can read like a book every other day for a few weeks or a few months, and then that like feeds something in me. I don't know what it is. And now with knitting, like I spend all of my extra time when I'm not working knitting, and like any like little glimpse of time that I can find to knit, like after school pickup or when my kids are brushing their teeth, you know, like it's just nice to have something to do. I don't really like sitting on the couch doing nothing, and the whole scrolling your phone thing is just not feeding me. And most of the time, like I love when I see other artists share their work or other now yarn enthusiasts and other fellow knitters, and I get to see their projects, and that just feeds me. But then I get a post of like what the Cheeto president is doing in America, and I just like that just ruins my whole day. And yeah, so focusing on something that I can like brings me joy, and not just focusing on all the bad things that are happening in lots of parts of the world. Sweden isn't perfect either. Anyways, man, you guys, this was so much fun. I'm starting to lose my voice. It's been like 30 minutes, so we need to say bye for now. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the little clips at the beginning with little like snapshots of where I live and the beautiful winter landscape of January that is now turning into slush. Thanks for watching. Check out my Patreon groups if that sounds interesting. Check out Skillshare if you're interested. I have a link. If you've never heard of Skillshare somehow and you want to check it out, you can get a free trial through that link, or check out, if you are already a member, you can check out one of my 40 classes. That would be lovely. Otherwise, just stay tuned for another video on my knitting and art adventures. Bye!